We've got quite a few topics to cover here today. A lot of NASCAR news going on, and a lot of it requires this hat right here because there are some crabby people in the NASCAR world right now, and some of you may even be crabby after this. Well, there's, as I said, a few topics. We got the future of college racing. We know what AJ Allmendinger is going to be doing next year. We know about some more testing in NASCAR at Phoenix for the short track package, and that's got a little controversy, I guess. It's not like the end of the world, but it is a topic we're going to talk about. And then another thing we're going to talk about is the charter agreement with NASCAR and the teams, because that has suddenly got more spicy. It's been spicy already enough with the two butting heads a little bit, but now it apparently could come to on-track protests. So we'll talk about that in a minute. First thing I want to talk about, AJ Allmendinger. We know what he's going to do next year. There's been a lot of unknowns about his future. We all knew it was going to be with college racing, but we didn't know if it was going to be Cup or if it was going to be Xfinity. Well, now we know. AJ Allmendinger spent last year in the Cup Series full-time, was full-time in the Xfinity Series the years before. Well, now he's going to be going back to the Xfinity Series full-time. Allmendinger will return, as I said, to the Xfinity Series full-time, chasing a championship. He will also run part-time in the Cup Series. I don't know if that's going to be the 16, if they're going to have a third car or something. But the fact of the matter is, AJ Allmendinger no longer in the 16 car full-time. He is going to be in the Xfinity Series full-time. Of course, Allmendinger this past year missed the playoffs, but in the playoffs did get himself a Cup Series victory at the Charlotte Roval. He has 3 career victories, 2 of them coming with Colleague, the other one with Colleague coming back in 2021 at the Indianapolis Road Course. But Allmendinger himself was not sure. No one was sure what Allmendinger would be doing in 2024 as of the time of his win in October. There was a lot of speculation that he would be going back to the Xfinity Series, whether that was his decision or the team's decision, but he kept on saying he would do whatever Matt Colleague and Chris Rice needed him to do, and ultimately that is going to be in the Xfinity Series. Once again, I don't know whose decision that was. Was it Allmendinger's? Was it the team's? I really don't know, but we do know now that he's going to be full-time in the Xfinity Series once again, and that he's going to be part-time in the Cup Series. As for the 16 car in the Cup Series, I've got no idea. I don't know if they're going to do a part-time car, because they did that this year. They had 2 full-time cars, and they had a part-time car as well. I don't know if they're just going to do a full-time car with alternating drivers like Allmendinger in there. You put Chandler Smith. Well, Chandler Smith's not there anymore, so that's awkward. But, you rotate drivers, whoever's in that car. College racing has seen a lot of changes in the past few months. Daniel Hemrick's taking over the 31 car. Justin Haley is gone. AJ Allmendinger now stepping away from the Cup Series full-time. So there's a lot of uncertainty for college racing. The question is, if that second car was to be a full-time driver, who would it be? There's been tons of rumors about Ty Dillon being in that car, though now those rumors seem to be almost gone, I feel like. Like, there was a time that it was like, all right, it feels like tomorrow they're going to announce that Ty Dillon's in that car, but now it's like people are saying, okay, it's not a sure thing that Ty Dillon's in that car, and I got to be honest, I don't know who's going to be in that car next year. I don't know if it's going to be part-time drivers or if it's going to be one full-time driver, but I guess we'll see in the future. But AJ Allmendinger back to the Xfinity Series full-time, but he is going to still be on a part-time Cup schedule. Next up, there was a test at Phoenix for the short track package. Ever since the next gen hit the track at the beginning of 2022, it's been kind of hit or miss as a total. The intermediate tracks have been shockingly good. Very good, in fact, at some racetracks. We've seen great racing at Vegas. We've seen great racing at Kansas. Auto Club, rest in peace. But we've seen fantastic racing at the intermediates. Everyone loves it, says don't touch the cars at the intermediates. We have not missed there yet. Or if we have, it's not entirely been the car. But then there's the short tracks and road courses, and that's a bit of a different story. There have been some pretty bad short tracks and road course races. Remember, with the old generation of car, it was basically a complete 180 where we saw, the short tracks be incredible with the Gen 6 car. Short tracks and road courses, every time that was next up on the schedule, NASCAR fans were super excited. You know, they could not wait for that race to hit. If the next race was an intermediate race, they were wishing that they could skip to the week after because the intermediate races at the end of the Gen 6 era were awful. Now that's a whole package thing. That's a whole side rant thing. But the fact of the matter is that the short tracks and road courses, yes, there have been a few good races, but the fact of the matter is the majority of them have not performed well in terms of the quality of racing. NASCAR has done a variety of tests. They've done some tests at Richmond, at Phoenix, as I said. I think they've even done some at Martinsville to test out some different parts of the car, whether that's changing a splitter, changing things with the rear diffuser. They've changed a lot of parts, or tested, I should say, a lot of parts to see what could be made different. And I really don't know where this is going. I got to be honest. Kyle Larson did an interview with Cole Cusimano. And yeah, I mean, Larson made it seem like he didn't feel a lot of changes. Obviously, there could have been changes in timing and, you know, tire wear and how things worked. But the most interesting part of this 30-second clip, I'm going to show you the part that I find most interesting, is what Larson says about something that doesn't really have to do with the aerodynamics of the car or the actual racing. It's about the sound of the car.
Yeah, I can definitely tell a sound difference, which I like, and I definitely think our race cars are way too loud, and probably are still too loud with the mufflers. So, no, just I think the cars could be quieter just to help the fan experience.
Now, a lot of people have been taking this quote the wrong way, and I kind of understand why. Like, look, NASCAR, when you watch a NASCAR race on TV, if I go up to a person in the street who doesn't watch NASCAR and I tell them to watch a race on TV, there's a legit possibility that they will change the channel. Because the fact of the matter is, if I'm a NASCAR fan, I've been a NASCAR fan for almost 14 years now. The fact of the matter is, if you watch a NASCAR race on TV and you have no idea what's going on, it can be kind of boring. It's a bunch of cars going in circle. But you can say that about every sport if we're being honest. But when you know what's going on, when you know the consequences of a certain race, of a certain, you know, spin or a pit stop, you know that, you know, every race is big in its own way, and you know that every lap can be exciting. But from a casual standpoint, from someone who doesn't watch, it can be boring watching it on TV. Well, let's take that person mentioned that has watched only on TV. They have no idea what's going on. They're super bored. And let's put them at an actual racetrack. The number is astronomically bigger in people who enjoy a race at the race versus watching at TV, if I had to guess. I have not done any scientific data on this. But point being, going to a race at track is a much better experience than on TV. That's no disrespect to the TV. You know, NBC, Fox do a great job telling you what's going on, showing the racing, all that. But at the track, to hear the cars, to feel like the earth shaking because of the cars, to hear them go up through the gears, to hear the screech of a tire during a spin, to see grass kick up when someone spins through the infield, to see all that, to smell it, to hear it, is like one of the big things about the experiences. But Kyle Larson here in NASCAR has been testing mufflers. Now, mufflers have been used in NASCAR even this past year. At the Chicago street race, they were used, and at the LA Coliseum, because they are in densely populated areas. They are in cities where NASCAR is not the only thing. There are neighborhoods around. There are people trying to either work or, you know, be at home relaxing. So you can't have a fully loud NASCAR engine going around because the fact of the matter is it disturbs people. Now, a full-time muffler in NASCAR, I don't know how much of a difference it would make in terms of the engine. It would not completely mute it. It's not going to go by and you're not going to need earbuds. I can't even estimate a sound percentage on the muffler. But the fact of the matter is that they are trying to make it quieter. I've seen people within the industry on social media talking about, yeah, this is a change that is needed because these cars are louder than the older ones. Now, from the grandstands, I can't say I tell much of a difference in terms of the loudness of the sound. The next-gen car definitely sounds different than the Gen 6, I would say. I couldn't tell you why, but, I mean, there is a difference. If I put, like, videos up, I think you could tell. But there are a lot of people concerned about whether this is going to completely take out the noise of NASCAR. And Larson, the big point I'm making here is that Larson cited the fan experience. And I'm trying to think of how to talk about this because, as I just stated with that whole analogy of, picking up a random person on the street, showing them a NASCAR race on TV versus taking that same random person, taking them to a race, it's going to be a bunch of different experience for them and how they view the race or how they enjoy it. And that's the thing, is the fan experience. When you go to a NASCAR race, longtime NASCAR fans like myself, I'm talking to you, anyone who's been a NASCAR fan, when you go to a race, do you go to, with someone, let's say you're going with your buddy Steve, and you and Steve go to the race. Are you going to talk to Steve, or are you going for not a lot of noise? What you going for there? Some people, like myself, really enjoy the loud cars. You wear ear protection and all that, sure, but it's a cool feeling. It's a cool sound. But when it comes to the people in the industry, the people that are working on the cars, the people that are, this close to the cars and the engine's loud in their face, it's a valid point. They're going to lose their hearing at some point if there's super loud noises right in their face. So from that perspective, I can understand it. From the fan experience perspective, yeah, I don't fully agree on it. But from the people in the industry perspective, from people being right next to the cars, working on the cars, being in the cars, I understand that point of wanting a muffler to reduce some of the noise, but don't get rid of it all. And I don't think that's the plan. I think this is purely a help people don't lose their hearing that are in the garage kind of thing. But the fact that Larson cited fan experience is why I went on this whole 5-minute kind of spin-off thing. Anyways, point being, long story short, I should say, is that from the fan experience perspective, don't reduce the noise. And if you do, make it like just a little bit, if that is truly the reason why you're doing it. If you're doing it for people in the industry, it's fully understandable. We don't want people losing their hearing. So yeah, that's the moral of that story. Next up, and this is the one I wanted to talk about the most, but I went on such a side tangent there about the engine noise, is this interview with Adam Stern. Adam Stern, if you've been watching this channel, we all know who he is. He's a top-notch NASCAR reporter. He's always dropping Stern bombs, as we call them. And he kind of dropped another one. He was doing this interview with, I think it's called The Money Lap. I don't know if that's a podcast or what. I got to be honest with you. But he gave this interview. Just listen to it. Just listen to it.
So if the deal doesn't get done by Daytona, well, on one hand, it's fine because the next deal for the charter agreements and the media rights don't start till 2025, but that'll start opening up the opportunity for teams to, potentially pull stunts on the track. There's been rumblings about things like that. Nothing's happened, but, there's been rumblings about teams, somehow show their displeasure to NASCAR during a race.
Now that's quite the story, if we're being honest here. First of all, I don't actually want to know because I kind of want it to be a surprise, but how would a NASCAR team protest in race? Like, how would they pull a stunt on track? Because when I hear pull a stunt on track, I think intentionally wrecking. And obviously, if the team owners are trying to send a statement, they're not going to go out wrecking cars because they are paying for those cars. That makes no sense. Would this mean, like, drivers start your engines, do the pace laps, and then when the race is going green, come back into the pits? Would this mean, start and park? Would this mean... I'm trying to figure, like, intentionally doing a caution by stopping in the pits. I'm trying to figure out what a stunt is by the teams. Like, how would the owners pull a stunt? Because I know an owner is not going to run on track to cause a caution because they'll get their hard card revoked and they'll never be allowed in the track again. So I'm very curious to what a stunt on track is. As I said, it's not going to be intentionally wrecking. I'm willing to bet you money that is not it because these team owners pay for the cars. But what does it mean? I'm very curious. I'm very curious about how a NASCAR team would show displeasure in a race to NASCAR by pulling a stunt. I want to know what it means. I mean, I don't know what it means. But the fact that here's why the team owners are so disgruntled right now. So we just got the new TV deal last week, 2 weeks ago, however long it's been. What was that? $1.1 billion a year on the TV deal. More money for NASCAR, more money for the teams, right? Well, the thing that has not been signed on, that has not been agreed with, is the new charter deal. The charter deal was renewed in 2020 through the end of 2024, so about 365 days from now, maybe a little bit less. But the fact of the matter is that charter deal ends at the end of next year. Well, the charter for, if you have seen a lot of my videos, if you know what the charter system is, you can skip through like the next minute, okay? I'm just going to re-explain it for people who may not know what it is. The charter system is a system where if you own a Cup Series team and you own a charter, there are 36 of them, that means you do have to run every single race with that car, regardless if it's one driver or if it's multiple part-time drivers like we talked about with Colleague. You just have to run all 36 races with that car. 38 events. You have to run the All-Star race and the Clash as well. The charter agreement makes you do that, but at the same time, it guarantees you a spot in the race every single week. Because of that, if there were 150 cars to enter into the Daytona 500 and you qualify 150th, it doesn't matter because you are guaranteed into the race because you own a charter. Now, this new agreement has not been agreed on. There have been a lot of back and forth with NASCAR and the teams. There's been reports of, both sides being disgruntled at some point. The teams want more money. That is the big thing. Money is always what comes down to arguments and disputes within industries, within giant companies, sports, whatever it may be. It's always about money. And that's ultimately what this has come down to. The teams want more money. NASCAR doesn't want to give them more money. So that's pretty straightforward, actually. But the point being is that this deal has not been agreed upon. We have just under a year, theoretically, to agree on a new deal. If they don't, I genuinely don't know what happens after that. But the charter system, as it turns out, has actually helped the teams make a lot of money. Why? Because the charters themselves have in money. Okay, about 5 years ago, I think, Spire Motorsports bought a charter, or they sold a charter. Someone bought or sold a charter 5 years ago, and the estimated value was about, $5 million, I believe. And, that's still a good chunk of cash. But then you compare it to what happened just a couple of months ago, the week before Bristol, and that was Live Fast Racing selling their charter to Spire. That charter went for $40 million. That is 8 times the amount of the charter just 5 years ago. That's a lot of money. $40 million. Do you know what you can do with $40 million? That list is a very long list. It goes all the way from buy a McDonald's meal to buy an island, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what the tail end of $40 million is. But the point being, the value of the actual charters themselves have skyrocketed. And because of that, the teams want to keep the charter system in place. Whereas NASCAR, they have not been as wanting to. There has been talks by them. I think Jim France at some point said, yeah, we're not 100% sure we want to keep it. We're not sure yet, something like that. But the fact of the matter is the teams want to keep this charter system to guarantee the money, but also the possibility of selling your charter if you want. There are teams out there who want charters. There are teams out there who want to sell charters. But the fact of the matter is they're going for such a high bid at this point. It's kind of a risky move. It's kind of a, that's a big financial move. So the point being is that the whole reason this dispute is happening is because of the charters, because of money, and it could come down to some type of stunt on track. So we have talked a lot. We've gone on a lot of side quests here. But to wrap up this video, AJ Allmendinger is full-time in Xfinity, part-time in Cup. The test at Phoenix is done. They tested like 50 new parts. That's an over-exaggeration, but they've tested a lot of new parts. And also there's a chance that mufflers can be implemented in the Cup Series. And I don't know why yet, but I'm sure it'll come out at some point. And the third point being, the charter system deal has not been renewed by the teams and NASCAR. They have until the end of next year, and if it does not get agreed to by Daytona, there's a chance we see on-track stunts, and I have no idea what that means. And also, there's a lot of money moving around. The teams want to keep the charters. NASCAR maybe doesn't want to, or they don't want to give the teams more money. There's a lot of math in there. Math is not my strength. Please bear with me. But thanks for watching this video. This was a very long video. I warned you at the beginning we had a lot of topics to talk about here. I'm very curious to see. This charter deal, watch it get, like, it's going to be the week before Daytona, and NASCAR is going to be like, actually, yeah, here's your deal. We're giving you what you want. I'm going to be like, man, we couldn't have done this 2 weeks later. I wanted to see the on-track stunts. I wanted to see what they were actually going to do. But we've got some time to figure out what they're actually going to do. Thanks for watching this video again. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe. We'll talk about NASCAR news, F1 news, whatever I can. Any schedule updates, I'll give you in the community post. I had one video for last week, but I haven't done it yet. I just got to reschedule it. And then I may start doing quizzes again in the post because I always forget that's a thing. But I'll try to remember. Thanks again for watching.